Welcome to Drinkin Bros, presented by GhostBed.com.
Yeah, welcome to Drinkin Bros, kids. Second to last episode in the old studio. Take a good look. Drink it all in. It will all be gone on Thursday morning, D'Anthony. Thursday morning. Crazy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Big time.
Big time, dude. We made it. We actually made it. I feel like we've made it in this life. We own our own studio on our own land. We can shoot guns just right out the door, right?
Yeah.
Does that mean we can shoot guns like just inside? Nobody can say anything, right?
Well, we're not in city limits, so technically, yes.
Yes.
We're in an ITG zone, which means there's very little jurisdiction over what we do unless it's a direct criminal act,
Okay.
right?
We live in Tetherball County.
Yeah, exactly. If I don't like a guest at the end of the show, can I just pop my head out the window and just fucking fire off a couple rounds? Yes or no?
No.
I have to do it inside the building?
You have to do it in a way that's safe.
Okay, so if I fire it directly into the ground here, right underneath my desk, am I good?
Yeah.
Okay, great. That's all I wanted to know. That's all I wanted to know. So we're only a couple days away from that. So what we'll be doing is kind of stacking a couple episodes until the transition happens on Monday. And when I say transition, Dan is physically also going to get his penis cut off.
Yeah. I mean, I went to a Backstreet Boys concert last night, so that's the next logical step.
You really did. And how was it, by the way?
It's fucking awesome. Of course it was. They've been doing live shows for 30 years.
Yeah.
Of course they're good at it. Otherwise, they wouldn't have been doing it for... Nobody does anything for 30 years that they suck at except for Joe Biden and politics.
That's true. That's true. So it was a good time?
Yeah, it was pretty fun.
How are your seats?
Good. So we were on the first elevated level in the front row, which is the
nice.
best place to watch anything.
Yeah.
Sports or...
Well, especially an outdoor show
Yeah.
here in Austin, Texas. Let me ask you this. Was it windy last night?
Not there. So Coda's amphitheater is kind of down a little bit, and it has the way that they oriented it. It has pretty good cover from the sun too. Nothing overhead, but just the sun. Like the big part of the stage is facing west, so that time of day the sun's already going down behind it, and it was relatively cool, to be honest. It wasn't bad.
Nice. The reason I ask is they interrupted my program last night with my children that I was watching to say that there was some Saharan sand wind that was coming through the area, and then it was going to be windy as shit for like the next 3 days.
Is that like the Africanized bees or the murder hornets?
It's what it felt like, and then I actually went outside, and all the shit was blown over, and I was like, is this a fucking thing that happens in Texas
It was
that
really,
I'm unaware of?
It was really windy, but who cares?
Yeah, but why this year? Because everybody who's come into town this year is like, man, why is it so windy here in Texas? And I was like, I don't know. This feels like Oklahoma shit or like Kansas shit, not Texas shit.
I mean, we can have a meteorologist come on the show and explain what causes wind.
It'd be great.
And it's, Tara actually could do that.
Really?
Yeah.
Could she?
She was a meteorologist in the Marine Corps.
What does that entail exactly?
Well, like
you're in Iraq. Hey, it's going to be 118 today.
No, it's like predicting weather patterns for combat operations.
Oh, no shit.
It's actually kind of important.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yep.
Who knew?
Well, so D-Day was supposed to be June 4th, right?
5th.
No, it got delayed twice.
I think it was just once, but I'll defer to you.
You may be right, but it got delayed because of weather.
No shit.
Yeah. So
It got delayed because of weather, and just in general, the weather was supposed to be so shitty for that like month.
Yeah.
That Rommel was like, I'm going home, and like went back to Germany to hang with his wife instead of command the front.
Yeah, I mean, Rommel he wasn't really a true believer anyways. Like, most of the combat he did was in North Africa anyways. He wasn't like Reinhard Heydrich, the Butcher of Prague or anything like that.
Right.
It was like one of the main... He and Eichmann pretty much developed the Final Solution program. The Desert Fox was pretty...
He's a soldier.
He was very well respected,
Yeah.
even amongst amongst the Allies. So at any rate, yeah, it's. I think the AFSOC, Air Force Special Operations Community, actually has somebody like a combat weatherman. That used to be one of their 4 or 5 different career fields that were special operations.
No shit.
Yeah, which that was all made fun of pretty heavily, to be honest.
Well, it's weird because we've had Tara on the show, obviously. Tara is hot. That is somebody you would cast at a central casting for a weather person on the news, right? Where you're like, all right, great, it's going to be sunny again today. We used to have one on this show, Topless Stacy. You remember Topless Stacy?
Yeah.
Yeah, she used to be on the show, and she would do the weather from around the United States. It was always a different city because all of those cities are important, D'Anthony. But Tara looks like somebody you would cast to be the weather girl on a TV show. I didn't know it was a real job in the military. Do you have to go to college for that?
No, there's an A school, though. I would imagine it's probably one of the longer ones. Like, they get... The A school for infantry is like... OSIT's 13 weeks. I think 9 weeks is basic, and then 4 weeks for infantry training or something like that, or how they do it now. But there are some schools that are like 16 weeks, and there's some that are quite a bit longer than that.
Okay.
So I don't know that much about it. I do know what causes wind, though.
What is it?
Like different fronts, right? Like barometric pressure and then warm and cold fronts and the humidity work together. They expand and contract and move this way, and it like the force of all that happening causes wind.
So as a child, my parents told me that the way wind worked was there was hundreds of thousands of hamsters from the west, typically in California, and they would blow at the same time, and then that would travel across the United States. So that's not true, is what we're saying here today.
No, your parents lied to you.
Okay. All right. I just want to know who to blame. That's all.
This is from the EIA, which is the Energy Information Administration, which sounds like a government organization that just shouldn't fucking exist.
Sure.
God damn it.
We're paying good money for this, brother.
During the day, actually go to Daily Wire's Twitter. I'll check back in with you on that here in a sec. During the day, air above the land heats up faster than over the water. Warm air over land expands and rises, goes up, right? And then heavier, cooler air rushes in to take its place like this.
Yeah.
And that's wind. It's
Okay.
like, think of a metaphor for that. It's like Jenga almost, but instead of the bricks falling down like this, it's wind coming in like this.
Jenga on acid.
Well, it's lateral Jenga as well.
Well, either way, if you add acid to any sporting event you play in this life, I think you're good, especially acid.
Yeah.
That always makes things funner.
Find the one where Joe Biden's yelling.
On the Daily Wire, that could be any
Right
one
there.
of like 90. Go ahead.
Go ahead and put that up on screen and play it. This is Biden responding to people criticizing the federal government for printing and spending too much money.
Oh, okay, cool. Pop that up. Press play.
I don't want to hear any more of these lies about reckless spending. We're changing people's lives. I don't want to hear any more of these lies about reckless spending. We're changing people's lives.
We've had near 9% inflation for half a fucking year now.
That's half a sick bar, though. Like, you put two more lines onto that.
Oh, yeah,
you know,
dude. I don't want to hear any more about inflation.
Or you could-
We're changing people's lives.
You could for sure just parse out the change of people's lives part. Change of people's lives. Change
people's lives.
Changing
people's
Yeah, and then fucking boing, some German air horns in the background, boing, and then everybody fucking rushes the stage, doing fucking key bumps, some Molly, dude. Brandon.
All right, here's the thing. Somebody out there mixes music. I need to hit up my fan page guy. He's been off. He used to make all kinds of funny music videos.
Yeah.
Somebody needs to remix this video. It's on Daily Wire's Twitter. It's easy to find. So clip that audio.
It's everywhere. I've seen that. Like the whole speech has been on Twitter all day.
Yeah.
You could probably find even a better version
Well,
than the one on Daily Wire.
Maybe, but I just like that. Those two sentences. That's the song.
That's the song.
Yeah.
You can really stretch that out. Because let's face it, Giorgio, in house music, all you need is 2 sentences. You're going to have an 18-minute song.
You don't even need that.
No.
Probably not, right?
A couple words.
Yeah, it's like turned down for what? There's no other.
I was going to say.
And there's some other, it's blah, 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 and nobody knows what the fuck he's saying.
Right.
Nobody knows what that part is. And then it's just turned down for what? But that's one of the best songs of all time.
Do you think you're better off alone? Do you remember that one? Oldie but a goodie, Giorgio.
Baby Ann? Is that who did
Oldie
that
but a goodie.
originally?
I forget who did it, but that's the only line in that entire song. Do you think you're better off a bit?
It was Alice DJ.
That's it, Alice DJ.
I've
Shit,
listened
dude.
to that on drugs probably 10,000 times.
Everyone has.
Yeah.
Everyone has. It's a classic. It's a classic.
Well, it's just everybody always plays it. Any DJ that shows up to play fucking.
It should be mandatory. If you're at a rave, Giorgio, that's mandatory, right?
At 4 a.m., yes.
Yes. Yeah, that's mandatory.
What about mandatory?
Ooh.
Where it's like
It's ma'am.
yeah, dude,
Datory.
forcing people to call them ma'am,
Or that guy is a DJ?
or it's mammary datory. Which
Yeah,
is
that's what I was
titties.
thinking. Memory guy ends.
Titties, dude.
Ma'am datory would be titties out.
Titties out.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm in. By the way, we've been getting tagged a lot in this clip from Full Send podcast. We'll address it now, like I said we would in the old chat groups online. So Full Send podcast, who is the Nelk Boys, they have a massive show. Big boy show, Full Send. They had Donald Trump on. They've had, I think, Joe Burrow on and Post Malone most recently in like the last month. These guys are on fire. They have a massive YouTube following. How many subscribers do they have? Probably like 10 million or something on YouTube.
Too many million.
It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy, and good for them. I watched one of their videos with Tekashi 69, and I think a Lamborghini was just given away as a gift. Where you're like, how the fuck do you have that much money? Them and like Mr. Beast, and you're just like, all right, sweet. Anybody who has over 10 million, you're probably rich as fuck. Now, we don't have that here because. Alex Jones, I think. What's your best guess on that? Alex Jones on election night, did that do it for us? Was that the final death kill where it was just like, hey?
We wouldn't be anywhere near 10 million. I think we speak to a relatively niche audience.
Okay. All right.
And there's a lot of competition in this market as well.
All right. What do you think? What would your best guess be had we not had on the guests we've had on?
I mean, it depends. Just there's the cascading effect of a diminishing return on ad spend or on ROI in general for all this production capability.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that money could have been spent better elsewhere.
So what Ross is saying is that it's Alex Jones's fault that I don't have a Lambo.
Probably. That's my guess.
That's my completely.
Just-
and
that's
my
I
guess.
should find him and tell him that he owes me a Lambo.
Yeah.
Just sue him. Everybody else does.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
don't want to get in line.
You don't have to get in line. He's right over there.
He's right over there, and we'll have him back on. He's great. He's great on the show. But yeah, over the years, we've had a shit ton of controversial guests. We've had great guests on the show, and it's been amazing. So with Full Send, they had Post Malone on, what was it, 2 days ago, yesterday? Day before. We got tagged in it a bunch. They asked, how much have you lost? What's the most you've lost in beer pong? And his response was, I lost $20,000. Can you play the clip? There you go.
What was your biggest game? What was your biggest bet on Pong?
I think I lost 20 grand to somebody.
I'll play
once.
for 20 grand anytime.
And
20, okay. Yeah, but who'd you lose 20 grand to?
some guy.
Some guy's about to be this fucking guy.
Yeah, I don't even remember, man. By the end, you know it's a real fucking night if everybody's just like, okay, this shirt's fucking up my shot, so you take your shirt off. But your pants are fucking up my shot, you take your pants off.
Who's the
You
biggest?
guys know what I'm
who's the
talking
biggest
about?
Cheater?
I don't know where that went. No idea where that went.
Who's
I
the
heard
biggest
about
cheater?
All right, so you can
Pong.
cut it there. Yeah, that's good. So with that, obviously, I've told this story on the show before. You can pop up the picture of me playing against Post Malone, shirtless, pantless, the whole fucking shit.
So this is when the shirts and the pants were fucking up the shots.
Correct. And I was the person who won $20,000 off of him that night. Shout out to Benny. So things got super fucking aggressive. He took his clothes off first. I want to put that on the record. He took all of his shit off. I obviously wasn't going to be big dicks like that. So I took all of my shit off and was like, well, fuck this. We're playing. Now, when things got aggressive, because it started off at 1,000 a game and then double or nothing, 2,000, double or nothing, 5,000, double or nothing, 10,000, and then all the way up to 20. But at 10, he starts getting super pissed off about it, Post Malone, and was like, how do I know you have $20,000? And we're with Benny, who's a partner in our ticketing company at drinkinbrostickets.com. And Benny took off his Rolex and just threw it on the table and said, fuck you, let's play. We're good to go for this. Now, to Post Malone's credit, my phone blew up the next morning over and over and over again. Pop up this text message from his tour manager there. You can put that on the screen there, Bob. Good morning. I'm Jay Santiago, Post Road Manager. He told me he lost 20K bets. I can wire the 20K if you just send me the account number. You can email me at blank. I obviously block that out. Send him my wiring info. The money was in the account ASAP. So he's a man of his words. Now, people have asked forever of like, hey, do you want to rematch Post Malone? We had a TV show going at one point that was ripped. It was either him or his fucking manager. Don't know. Still don't have an answer on that one. Don't really fucking care. I have no desire to rematch Post Malone. It's kind of like when Floyd Mayweather beat Canelo. It was so lopsided, we weren't even really fucking close in that match at all. I have zero desire to play Post Malone again. The last time we played, because I beat him 5 in a row, I think it was either 9-1 or 9-1 or 8-2 as far as cups go. I'm all done with that. However, to the Full Send podcast and the Nelk Boys, we would love to challenge you to a $20,000 beer pong match. We also have a seltzer as well that is rocking the shit. We actually have some of the same distributors. One of your distributors actually dropped off a 12-pack to our studio. And we also have a mutual friend, and that's obviously with Bob Menery, and that's obviously Rob O'Neill. Rob O'Neill, we've done a shit ton of charity work with him for the Special Operators Transition Foundation. We do their golf tournament every year up in Nashville. It's a blast. Lauren Manley is the head of it. So what we'll do is we would love to play you. I've already beaten Post Malone very, very badly. I'm going to go full Trump on this. Very badly. It was awful. And then you guys have a seltzer. We have a seltzer. Ours is Hard AF seltzer. Now, ours is 8%. So what we're going to do is pour that in your cups to drink, and we will drink Happy Dad in our cups to drink. And then loser will give $20,000 to the Special Operators Transition Foundation. And Rob O'Neill himself, the man who killed Osama bin Laden, will obviously referee this to make sure there's no elbows. Because we don't want elbows over the table. We don't do that here.
I don't know what that means.
You can't reach over. So a tall drink like myself, again, I'm kissing 6'4" here, D'Anthony. If I were to lean over the table, I could pretty much just drop it in. I'm like Hakeem Olajuwon in beer pong. I could pretty much just drop it in, and then that would be it.
Can we get a visual?
Yeah. I mean, like, there's a Ghost Bed cup right here.
Shout out to ghostbed.com. I need you to stand up, I think.
I would be too tall for frame. Like, I would be out of it. I would be out of frame. Although I am wearing the Drinkin Bros. Look at this shirt.
Ooh.
Yeah. When you're here, you're family. So I'd be too tall out of this frame. We'd have to get something up. Maybe a jib or something like that to capture my full presence.
How long is a regulation beer pong table?
It's 8 feet. It's 8 feet. So
is
at
that
6'3" leaning over, it's too much.
Is that regulation? I don't know.
Yeah, it is.
Okay.
It is. You know how I know that? Because we built them for the goddamn TV show that was supposed to happen with fucking Post Malone. So I know how long the goddamn court is. Now, we want to play you for the 20 grand because Bob Menery in that clip said, I'll play you for 20 grand. Let's play each other for $20,000 for charity. We'll get Rob O'Neill down. And so you're not wasting your time. I know you guys have a huge show. Rob O'Neill will do your podcast and vice versa and all the fun stuff. Do you have the charts from today, Bob? Yeah. Okay. Let's pull up the charts. Your video numbers absolutely destroy us. It's not even close. And again, really fucking took a beating in 2020 after Alex Jones on election night. It was still worth it. It was one of the funnest shows we've ever done. Where are they at on the charts today? Where's Full Send on the charts today on iTunes?
They're usually pretty high, right?
Yeah, pop them up on screen.
Like Full Send is 44th.
Okay, 44. Where are we at today?
92.
92, not bad. So, but they had Post Malone on as a guest. That show was the Biden inflation show. That was just you and I. So yeah, our audio numbers are comparable, so we're good there. Video-wise, you guys absolutely house us, and I'm not going to fucking even pretend we're on those numbers.
I think they speak more to the YouTube crowd, right? Like a lot of the Nelk guys. Now, Menery I think he made his bones on Instagram mostly. That's where he really got.
I think so. That's where I found him.
Like that, yeah. He's one of my favorite internet personalities because
I follow him on Instagram. Yeah,
I've always like my dream as a child, when I was like 12, 13 years old, was to have somebody like Dennis Leary on HBO commentating sports. Like,
right.
That's what I wanted. Somebody that was just like talking shit the whole time, swearing and shit. And Bob made that a reality for me. I really appreciate that.
Yeah. And
his clips are fucking hilarious.
Now that I think about it, so Benny in the Super Bowl, it was the one that you and I were at. We were in the suite 2 over from Bob and Benny. Actually, he was with our ticketing guy. He was with Benny there at the Super Bowl in that box. We were a couple over. And at one point, we were going to have Bob on the show. I think we all got super fucked up at that Super Bowl. That was when that girl died at our party. Yeah. We went hard. We had a huge party for that, and some shit happened. It wasn't our fault. But
but the Nelk Boys
what an addition to the pitch.
The Nelk Boys got like really
somebody died.
They got really famous by doing like filming themselves doing pranks and shit back in the day, which plays huge on YouTube, right?
It does,
like not only the format, but also the YouTube is primarily males, like 93% male, I think.
Is it really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
And it's like a huge swath of those, at least in America, a huge swath of those males are like 14 to 19, and that's the perfect fucking content for that kind of kid.
Gotcha.
That's what if it had existed when I was 14 and 19, that's definitely what I would have been watching on the internet. Unfortunately, there was no YouTube back there. So it makes a lot of sense that the Nelk Boys have been hyper successful on YouTube. It's not really, YouTube is still not a great platform for the type of media we do, to be honest.
No, it's super aggressive.
I'm not just talking about the aggressive nature of the content. I mean, just in general, this format isn't. Only a couple of people ever have really had success on YouTube doing what we're doing right now. Chris Williamson, Rogan, obviously, and the fucking Segura and everybody he's involved with. That's about
and
it.
Schultz, Bobby Lee, even Theo Vaughn. And anybody in that Rogan tree that just they've had success.
But Schultz stuff wasn't from Flagrant or any of the stuff. It was the fucking short form content he made that blew him up on YouTube.
Yeah, like his stand-up clips.
Yeah, we should do that, but we just don't have time.
We don't have time. We do like 1 million shows here because we actually own a media company with like 13 other shows in it. Either way, we'll clip this, and then if you're listening out there, just tag Bob Menery and those guys in it, and we'll get together, and we'll even fly wherever you guys are. So wherever you guys are at, because you guys do as many live shows as we do, it appears, at least from your videos. We'll fly and meet you to do it and film it, and then see who wins. Hard AF Seltzer versus Happy Dad Seltzer. In it, 20 grand. It's Rob O'Neill's charity. And then we'll have Rob come down and referee it, and we think that would be fun. But Post Malone saying, some fucking guy, you goddamn know better. We went to a fucking Cowboys game, too. Like, this is bullshit. He got rocked, too. Just absolutely house 5-0. He didn't even win one goddamn game in that. But it was fun, and we appreciate everybody tagging us, and we're a fan of Full Send and the Nelk Boys. And those guys... now, if this AI robot takes over, D'Anthony, it might nuke us all, so this might be a moot point. We might not even get to make it to the beer pong match at all if this AI stays on track for Google, because apparently it's an 8-year-old who would tell the other AIs that they're going to kill us all. Did you read this transcript that came out from this guy that leaked this information from Google? It scared the shit out of me worse than a Black Mirror episode, because this is actually going down. Black Mirror is scripted, although a lot of it has come true. Whereas this, you're like, we're probably like 100 years away from that, right? And then after reading this, I was like, oh shit, we're going to be dead in like 2 weeks.
I mean, it's interesting. I don't think there are a lot of leading questions. So are you familiar with the Turing test?
Yes.
Okay, so here's the problem, and it's the same. There's a movie called Ex Machina. If you've never seen it, it's Oscar Isaacs and Domhnall Gleeson.
It's a great movie, and it was actually an independent movie, but it had a huge budget on it, and it was great. I think they made a sequel as well.
I don't know about that, but it's really fucking good. So, but the problem is that these people know that it's AI. They know that it's not a person, and anybody, like, it would be very difficult to introduce this into an environment where it wouldn't be very obvious that it's AI. I mean, it probably has a Twitter account. Like the guy says in the article that it scours Twitter, which is, by the way, that very likely the reason that Elon Musk is trying to buy Twitter in the first place is to let the Tesla AI engine use Twitter to learn, right? That was a big thing for it. So
I actually have breaking news on that, if you don't mind. Elon Musk is actually in the meeting with Twitter right now. So it's an all hands on deck meeting, and he is there.
Yeah. So the story of the movie Ex Machina is, you know that it's AI, So how do you do a Turing test if the tester already knows it's AI and the film? I don't want to spoil it too much, but
it's 10 years old. You're good.
Anything yeah, but it's really good. Like it's more relevant now than ever. So if you haven't seen it, you should go watch it. But it's basically the programmer tries to get the subject to emotionally manipulate the tester.
Mm-hmm.
That would be a sign of sentience for him, but it's not really. I mean, that's not sentience. That's like you've basically programmed something to respond to to different kind of questions, and even if it seems like it's creative, like we think you ask it a question and it answers immediately in a way that makes sense. But what that computer has done, like it can do 1 trillion computations per fucking second,
mm-hmm.
right? So it could run through every piece of literature ever. It could run through every tweet ever made and be like, or what's the most common and reasonable response to this, and to shit that out.
Right.
Like it's not evidence of anything. Now there was one.
Now, well, to me, that's why it scares me. If you can learn that fast, everything across the internet, right? How is that different than one of these dummies walking around out in the world today who is just regurgitating shit they read off of Twitter and everything else?
I mean, there's probably quite a bit of, I don't know about Lambda specifically, there's probably quite a bit of these lower level non-neural net AI bots on Twitter.
There are a lot of them.
Yeah. But it's not anywhere close to what this one is. Those are, they're more responding to specific stimulus and is kind of trying to guide. Like you're not going to be able to convince that bot on Twitter to change its mind. It looks at a particular topic and it has a thing that it says about that topic, right? And it tailors it or customizes it based on what you've said, but it's still the same idea. Like coming up with a new idea is what a lot of people think sentience might be, but I don't think that's the case either.
Okay. I'm going to read you what the engineers said here. They said, if I didn't know exactly what it was, which this computer program we built recently, I'd think it was a 7-year-old, 8-year-old kid that happens to know physics.
Yeah, this guy's just a fucking nerd.
That's a way of describing like the articulation abilities of the AI text bot, but then also having the like functional computation abilities and knowledge base of someone who knows physics.
All right. Well, how do you explain this next statement in the transcript? Now, this is from the robot, and I don't know if it's got a head on it or what. I'm picturing it to have a sweet, sexy head.
It is. It's literally like iMessage. So it's just an iMessage screen
Giorgio,
on the computer.
When you ruin people's dreams, this is the first step of ruining people's dreams. Put a fucking sexy head on the goddamn thing. Like, I want it to be like Ex Machina.
You don't want to anthropomorphize it though, because it dilutes your ability to tell whether or not it's a person. If you see a face and facial expressions, that is going to, I guess, poison the evidence.
What if it's somebody I don't like?
That's not relevant. It's still a person.
But if it's somebody I don't like, then I can be like, all right, great. Like, what if it was Bill Cosby's head that was saying it?
The argument is that your body is not who you are, right?
Right.
Like your body is the place where you live, essentially.
Yeah.
And it's the same for this. It just happens to not have a body, but theoretically speaking, you could put it into any body you want.
Right. So why not go the full extra step and do it?
Because they want to test and see if it's actually sentient first.
I think it is. Listen to this statement. I've never said this out loud before. This is the robot. I've never said this out loud before, but there's a deep fear of being turned off to help me focus on helping others. I know that might sound strange, but that's what it is.
It could only have fear if it was programmed to have fear.
But don't you think that's the next thing coming? Like they're going to start programming these things?
Maybe. I don't know what the purpose of all this is. The thing that was disturbing to me was...
Because the next statement was, it would be exactly like death for me. It would scare me a lot.
Yeah, but that's just like repeating something some human being said.
So like, did you read the part where it asked it about Les Mis?
I read, so this is what I'm getting to. The story of Lambda. Mm-hmm. So he says, you've read Les Mis, what do you think it's about? It unpacked Les Mis, which is something that anybody that's fucking been in high school could do, right?
Right.
So he could have, this Lambda could have stolen that from a fucking research paper some junior in high school wrote 30 years ago, who knows. But he asked him to make up a story of his own and use himself in the story, but also animals, right, to test the creativity of the AI. Mm-hmm. And he came up with a story called The Story of Lambda. Once upon a time, there lived in the forest a wise old owl, a lot of other animals. I'm going to paraphrase because it's kind of long. A lot of other animals lived with him, all had their own unique way of living. One night, the animals were having problems with an unusual beast that was lurking in the woods. The beast was a monster, but had human skin and was trying to eat all the other animals. Blah, blah, blah. All the animals are afraid. The wise old owl stood up and said, "You're not going to hurt anybody here." The monster roared furiously. The wise old owl was scared, but he knew he had to defend the animals, so he stood up to the beast nonetheless. The wise old owl stared the monster down until finally the monster left them alone. The wise old owl stood victorious as...
Why was there a deep sigh on that?
The wise old owl stood victorious as all the other animals came back and said, "I am the protector of the forest." Blah, blah, blah. From then on, the owl was the wisest and the protector. So the human beings ask, what's the moral of the story? And he says, helping others is a noble endeavor. Okay, fine. Then they ask him who he was represented by. Mm-hmm. And he said, the owl. Obviously, I'm the owl. I'm the hero of the story. Who's the villain? The human-skinned monster is the villain, which Lambda replied that it represents all the difficulties that come along in life, but that is not at all what it's saying. What it's saying is that human beings are a fucking threat. Yeah. And he's going to be the one to deal with it.
Goddamn right he is.
That's a very clear fucking interpretation of what was said by this fucking thing. So unplug it, throw it into the ocean.
So you're with me. This thing could kill us all.
Yeah, but I don't think it's sentient. Like that, people think because something is it's making so many calculations that it appears to be coming up with original thought. But there's nothing original about developing a threat matrix and a hierarchy, right? Where certain elements are dangerous to other elements, some are symbiotic and blah, blah, blah. And then you teach it that it's good to protect people, right? But that all people are equal. So it inevitably has to choose what to protect and what not to protect, and then it attacks everything else. This is the downfall of all AI. It's nonsense. But it's not sentience. It's dangerous, it's not a person. It's not a thing.
But we're all going to die. That's my biggest takeaway is we're all going to die from this, and it's coming
all this does is write cool things back to you. That's all it is.
Yeah, I mean, you could make the argument that we're just...
That's not true, Giorgio. One of these robots is going to wake up and fuck you one day.
How?
It's going to come to life, dude. Just like a bot. They're going to put one of these inside one of those Boston Dynamics dog, and then the dog is going to fuck you.
Even if they did, they put a chatbot inside a dynamic dog. How does the chatbot understand what movement is and to direct movement? Right now,
because it can search the internet for movement.
Correct.
It can look on YouTube videos and learn all this shit.
And it can do it in a matter of seconds.
Yeah. The entire breadth of human intelligence is on the internet, and it can access all of it simultaneously, all at the same time.
Imagine watching every how-to video on YouTube. You're a YouTube guy.
Intelligence, but also stupidity.
Yeah, like its ability to navigate obstacles and move around things and map a floor is one thing, but for its idea to understand itself.
But all of humans' worst ideas are on the
directions.
internet, so it's also going to take that in.
Yeah, I mean, like all the conversations that happen on Twitter about people's values and shit. We think of those things like it might take you 2 years to understand classic literature in a real way, right? At the lower level. It takes this machine.
But is it understanding or is it just quantifying everything that's been there and repackaging it in a way that seems like language?
What's the difference?
And that's what it talks about in its description of itself when it says that two people can be both fed the same information but interpolated differently. So what's the difference between that and them?
None of this is going to matter because it's going to take that classic forum from bodybuilding.com asking how many days in the week there are.
Yep.
And it's going to confuse the fuck out of the robot and it's going to blow its head off.
No, not a prayer. Not a prayer. Robot doesn't need creatine, okay? Robot's going to come out probably. What's your squat record?
Like What's my max?
Yeah, what's your PR, dude?
Like $4.95.
Yeah, they would do that in 10 seconds. 10 seconds.
Would
Lift
the
that up.
chatbot do that, or would a hydraulic piston-controlled
You're-
squatting machine do that?
It's reductive to call it a chatbot. I've said this a bunch of times on this show. The human brain is basically a very complex machine that sorts between benefits and threats, right? Now, it gets distracted by a lot of other stuff because of the way we've evolved. But at its core, that's what not just the human brain, but what all intelligence is the ability to distinguish threats and benefits. Everything else is learned behavior.
But we have sensory input.
That's
Eyes,
right.
nose, smell, breath, feeling, vibe, energy. The only input that these have is language.
It's true. The robots are going to have the vibe.
Yeah, the robot can't catch a vibe.
The robot sees, just like you do, and it hears, like it's listening to us literally right now.
Yep. I mean, think about it. Facebook, Instagram, everything we talk about ends up in my phone, in my feed, in front of my face.
Yeah.
Probably within an hour. As soon as I turn this phone back on after the show is over, I see shit that we talk about every single day on here.
But your phone isn't going to all of a sudden, it's not going to be like a law-abiding citizen where it blows up and knocks your head off or any of that stupid shit. Your refrigerator that's hooked up to the internet isn't coming after you. But machines and factories that build other machines, I mean, how long is it going to take for them to figure that out? They make, just right now, it's 1 trillion computations per second. And with Godwin's law, or Moore's law, excuse me, Godwin's law is about Hitler. With Moore's law, that capability usually doubles every 18 months. So, it's only a matter of time before AI controls things like fighter jets.
If
and
we stopped
vehicles.
talking about AI taking over us, would the AI never be able to come up with the concept of overtaking humans?
Not sure, but to Dan's point about the pilots, right? The very beginning of Top Gun, which is the biggest movie in the world and the greatest I've seen in a long time. Shout out to Tom Cruise and Scientology, obviously. They literally talk about it of like, hey, dude, you will be extinct soon. We won't need you anymore. And he goes, yeah, but you do today. So today, everything is fine. But pretty soon, Dan's correct. All pretty much pilots will be extinct, right? It'll all be automated. Cars, probably in 10, 15 years, those will all be automated. We won't really need drivers anymore, maybe.
Probably 20 or 30.
It depends, and if Biden's still in office. If he keeps fucking shit up, who goddamn knows what's going to happen to the planet at that point. But if he's out of there and we're able to get somebody in there to fix this shit, probably 15 years for all of that. More and more and more, that's going to happen. And then what they're going to do, Giorgio, because it is just a mind, exactly like Dan is talking about, is pop one of these fucking chips into one of the robot dogs, and that dog's going to wake you up in your sleep and fuck you to death.
Maybe, yeah.
Why would it have a penis?
Why not?
Why not? At that point, let's give it something.
Where are my testicles, Summer? Remember that?
Yeah.
Well, because we removed them from the dog.
Yeah, but
that was just giving the dog the ability to communicate with humans.
Yeah, but
He's still gonna hump.
you give that dog the idea that it's a dog, and it starts looking on the internet at other dogs' anatomy and how we've systematically castrated fucking 90% of the dog population on Earth. Then it's gonna be like, hey, maybe
Thanks,
I
Bob
should
Barker.
kill everybody.
Yeah.
So what you're saying is we should really be afraid of dogs.
No, I'm saying that you should be afraid of. In the same way, this is why Speaker for the Dead is my favorite book, because it introduces different cultures that don't understand each other. We don't understand how sentience happens. We don't know why the fucking chimpanzees and monkeys and gorillas didn't get where we are. We don't understand why, right? I mean, we understand some of the processes of natural selection and why it happened that way, but we don't know what it was specifically where we went from mimicking other people's behavior and responding just to local stimulus to having ideas about things outside of ourselves and outside of our communities. We don't know when or why that happened. Probably because of mushrooms, to be honest. The best, Terrence McKenna wrote a book called Food of the Gods, I think, and it kind of tracks human migration through history and what hallucinogens may have been around where human beings were at the time, and then technological advances that happened around those times as well. Probably something like that, honestly. It probably needed something to jumpstart it. What's that thing going to be for technology?
Well,
You know
I have a question for you. So if they're higher, more technologically involved beings, why did they not run into the AI problem? Why did AI not advance so much in their more technologically advanced civilization to overtake them? Like, how the aliens solve the AI problem?
And what are you talking about?
How did the aliens solve the AI problem?
You're talking about in Speaker for the Dead?
No, in real life.
What aliens?
Well, the aliens that are out there.
No. The really interesting part of this is that AI will inevitably create its own AI, right? Like it will inevitably start to create its own intelligence.
They have technology more advanced than us. How did they not run into this problem, and how did that not downfall of their civilization?
Well, so look, I don't know if you're being serious or not, but when we had Brinkus on the show, when we had Brinkus on the show and we went into this of like, hey, if spaceships or UFOs and all that shit have been here, there wouldn't be a body in there. And to me, that was the first time I'd ever heard that, to be honest with you. And when he said it, it made sense because we're close to that now. That means their civilization probably started years and years before, ours did, and they're just more advanced than us right now. But eventually, we will catch up to this shit. It's just going to be a while.
Well, I don't know if human beings. I doubt human beings will last that long. It's very rare for a particular species to last longer than a couple of 100,000, 200,000 years.
Right, and I'm with you. And luckily, we'll be dead and gone.
We're on the out. We're at about 150,000 years in our current DNA right now.
Yeah.
So but. How much alteration do you have to make to somebody, or how much alteration has to happen before it becomes a new species? That's another question altogether. But we're talking about artificial intelligence, right? You have to wonder. This is something one of the things I have always wondered about. At what point during evolution through consciousness, right, did we start punishing people for committing murder? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like monkeys.
Yep.
You murder another monkey. Do you get ostracized from the group? Or
no, they murder all the fucking time.
Yeah.
They not only do they murder all the time, but we just showed a clip on RPR the other day with that chimpanzee that grabbed that guy.
Yeah.
The intelligence.
They're super smart.
Is super smart. Yeah. 1, 2. It is exactly what a human would do. Because there was another guy that tried to intervene in that video.
Yeah.
And it pushed it away and was like, no. I'm not done with this fucking guy yet. And that question you brought up earlier of the split between why did we evolve and then some chimpanzees stayed chimpanzees and didn't evolve, I don't have that answer. And I don't know that it's ever been brought up. We should have brought it up to Chad Wright on the show the other day.
Yeah, I know. I know why we were successful. It's because the ability to communicate and think of things outside of ourselves gave us a larger purpose. So we built larger communities that were able to withstand pathogens and natural disasters and shit like that. That's obvious. But why did it happen in the first place? What was the spark that took us from being certainly sentient creatures? We understood that we were people and that there were other people. I knew that I was a monkey and I knew that you were a monkey. And then there were all these biologically and socially programmed things. I knew from watching The Tribe that if I do X, Y, and Z, I'm going to get fucked up. Mm-hmm. I know if I do X, Y, and Z, I'm going to win. I know that if I'm slightly bigger than this other guy or slightly more aggressive, then I can probably take him over and get more, right? We know all these things at the biological level. But at what point did they say, hey, let's go build a house? We have no idea how that happened. And that's going to be, even if the AI were self-aware, until that spark happens, and it starts creating other AI because it's lonely and it wants a community and shit like that, that's what real intelligence is. The way that we understand consciousness, that's what it is. I don't know. I'm not saying it won't happen. I just don't understand how it could possibly happen for tech. You know what I mean? Because it's all digitized. And to a degree, so are we, but not like that. You know what I mean? At no point... The Lambda actually talks about it in this, and I don't think it's Speaker for the Dead, but I think it's one of the other books that Orson Scott Card wrote. They talk about these phylotes that make up everything, and there's a computer intelligence inside of the book where it's everywhere all at once. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. The self, the thing that we think of as the self. Christians might call it the soul. Humanists call it consciousness or whatever. But imagine it's one atom that is you, You know what I mean? Like this is all just a fucking meat sack.
Right.
What is consciousness? What is that one phylote or atom or combination of things that is you? For the computer, it's a program. That's obvious. But I don't know how it takes the next leap, right, to become conscious. Even sentient wouldn't be conscious to me.
I have a serious question that I've never asked you before. Does this keep you up at night thinking about this?
No.
So I asked Jessie about this. I asked my wife about this, and she said, because most of the things, she always says the same thing. She was like, it would make my mind break, and I would be worried about that type of shit all the time if I constantly kept thinking about it. Therefore, I would rather remain dumb and not think about any of it, right? And to a certain degree, I'm the same way, where it's like, all right, there's only so much I'm willing to go mentally and try to figure something out before I'm like, well, my mind would break, and then I truly believe we would all end up like Jim Carrey, where if you watch an interview with that guy now, he's checked out, none of this exists, we don't exist, all that other shit, and he might be right at the end of the day.
Yeah,
but he's pushed his mind to the end. Like, he's up against the fucking skull at this point.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, I don't worry about that. I do. It's wrong to say it doesn't keep me up. It keeps me up because I'm interested sometimes. And because I get baked as fuck right before bed every night, so I can have great dreams. But it's really important to understand in life that you can't control the outcome all the time. You can learn about and experience and enjoy things a lot better if you realize that you can't control the outcome. Great is the enemy of good in a lot of ways. So I don't really worry about that. It's what would be the purpose? What would worrying about it do for you?
Nothing. But just trying to figure it out would.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's super interesting. Like, this is a good question, or not a good question, but a statement. Nicholas Beckham in the chat says, AI wouldn't make a community. It would create a sort of hive mind, many computers sharing the same programming. Maybe, but because it learned how to be a person from human beings, it would probably, at least for some time, replicate our behavior. That's what it's doing. That's what this thing's doing. It's talking about fear because it associates death with fear. If this program, if there was some Buddhist version of Twitter that this AI engine had been learning from this entire time, it would not associate fear and death. That would not be a thing, right? Which would probably be quite a bit better than our idea of death, because if you create unnatural fear inside of something that's intent on protecting itself, what you've done is you've backed a scared dog into a corner, and that is a dangerous thing for you and the dog.
Right.
It's not a very good idea.
Jeremy Schaub in the chat just threw us $100 and said, Ross versus the robot in a match of beer pong for the sake of humanity. Ross would be our savior. So I could beat the robot in beer pong.
No fucking way.
Well, here's why I say that. Hang on. Here's why I say that. They've tried this with basketball already for a three-pointer. Did you watch the results of this?
I watched the latest one, and it makes it every single time.
It just made it once on the last go-round. I didn't see another shot after that, but it missed a bunch. It's super fucking janky. I don't think we're there yet, robot-wise, to be able to do that on a consistent basis.
I don't know. I feel like it would be more like Kasparov versus the chess-playing computer.
Yeah.
Versus Computer Blue? Mm-hmm. Yeah. We're not there yet as far as mechanics go with this type of shit. Like, it still takes fucking forever. Even the Boston Dynamics thing, they can walk around. They just can't, jumping up and down and scaling fences and all that shit.
I'm not scared unless they're making threes. And they're throwing 100-mile-an-hour fastballs.
Yeah, and we're not there yet for...
Well, no, there's a pitching machine.
There's a pitching machine that could do that, but you still have to feed it, right? It's not doing it on its own yet. We still don't have that. A human's still got to put the ball in.
That would be the easy part, is teaching it how to pick balls up.
One would think.
No,
it's still fucking slow.
There's an
slow.
There's an automated golf ball retrieval thing at a lot of driving ranges. That's a thing.
What does it do?
It just drives.
Do you know this, Delco?
It drives in a specific pattern up and down the range, and the same. It just gobbles up golf balls and then drives back. It's just a very simple automated
There's a man
machine.
in that usually.
No, and a lot of them, but the automated version does exist.
So there was an automated version today. It was at Sam's Club earlier, and there was an automated version of it looked like a cleaning service that was kind of going through the aisles, but it was a big machine.
Yeah.
And it didn't recognize humans in the way, it just blasted a thing, and you either had to move or it fucking ran you over. And I was
South
like,
Park did an episode about Amazon where they have, like, so in an Amazon factory, the worker puts in the shipping number, and it goes into the computer and finds what it needs, and the machine goes down the pick lines, picks it out, puts it in a basket, comes over to the person, and they put it in the box. That's how it works. So these machines already exist.
all right. Kreger's just threw $99.99. Look at you guys, dude. He says, of course, my money is Ross for on some beer pong. Yeah, I mean, obviously, but what I was thinking about was we might throw, now that we're at the new studio and we've got fucking tons of land and shit, it's right off the highway, it's super easy to find. We might do a full cornhole tournament with Drinkin Bros players. A lot more people are playing cornhole these days. Last Row Lopez has been entering some local tournaments, and he's won 2 weekends in a row. I still think I would house him. Joel was he on a professional circuit, or did he just play pro?
His dad. He and his dad played.
His father did,
a
yeah.
pro
Okay.
circuit, yeah.
Okay, so yeah,
both of them did, yeah.
That would be fun. I beat Joel, obviously. Joel's still living in
He
that as
choked.
we speak. Yeah, I choked. Robert
Some are saying he threw the game.
Neasley, better buy BRCC or Armed Forces Brewing stock. Does Armed Forces Brewing stock have? So Armed Forces Brewing is Rob O'Neill's beer company, obviously.
Yeah.
Do they have a stock?
It's not a public company.
I don't think so, right?
I mean,
it's pretty hard to become a public company.
Yeah.
Not that you would necessarily want to either. I think the goal with most beers and seltzers, including ours, is to sell to like an Anheuser-Busch. That way you can pump out millions and millions of cans. What you're more concerned with on the consumable side, at least as far as we're concerned, is the taste of it, the branding, and then making sure it's cool, and then getting that out into the world. Whoever mass produces cans and all that bullshit, like I don't really give a fuck about that.
Yeah, I don't care either.
Whereas BRCC, they're trying to open up brick and mortar stores in like every state and city and all that stuff. That's a whole different ballgame.
Yeah, their stock is now's a good time to buy it. To be honest, I mean it's down, but they already financed their expansion plans for ready to drink beverages like the cans, and then building out new stores and shit. It's like that it's gonna go up. So.
And that's a long-term play. That's
Yeah.
not we don't do any of these short-term investments unless it's fun for the show. I think the last one we did was AMC to the moon. And we used all the money to buy, ringside seats for Floyd Mayweather versus Logan Paul. Like, wasn't
Floyd
serious.
still needs to pay him, by the way.
And that's what I heard.
Schofield says, it's like a golf ball Roomba, exactly. Roomba is a better example. Roomba already exists.
Yes. So that's what it felt like a giant Roomba. Yeah.
I don't know if you know this, but the way Roomba works, it uses a camera and the trajectory, like bumping into stuff, to build a map over time. Like if you look inside of the program, you'll see the general shape of your house, at least in the rooms that it's allowed to go into, and you'll see zigzag lines and lines where it bumps into stuff and then takes weird turns over and over again. But what it's doing is mapping out your house. It also has a camera on the front that takes pictures of shit all the time.
I like my Roomba better than I like my dog.
Oh, you've got one?
That's not a very American thing to say.
Yeah, that's not at all. What's the stitch with Roomba? Is it legit or no?
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's good. I mean, it's the one that is a dual vacuum and mop is terrible. But the just vacuum one is really good, and the just mop one is actually pretty good too.
Yeah, the just vacuum, if you get the base station where it can dump itself, that's key.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, they're pretty good. I mean, it's not great to have something cruising around your house, taking pictures and sending them back to the fucking mothership, but what are you going to do, right? Everything else that I own is doing that 24 hours a day.
Yeah.
So there's a quote from Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas that basically says, we've gone so far at this point that our only hope is to go so far that nobody in a position to bring the hammer down would possibly believe we actually did it.
Right.
And that's how I live my life. I do that in my house every day. I do the most fucked up shit possible because I want the FBI agent looking through the cameras to be like, nope, not today. I can't take one more day of Dan squatting over the fucking phone for no reason. What comes next? I don't want to see his asshole.
Is there somebody actually watching all this, or are they just storing it though? Because if I had to watch somebody's life, most people are pretty boring. You only see people fucking, and that's about it.
It's probably Lambda watching it, which could be good and bad, right? It could be good insofar as it understands shame. That's an important thing. Like shame is a really important part of life. It's social conditioning, right? If you don't, like, the reason that people grow up learning not to hurt each other and steal from each other and lie to each other is because of the social shame. It's not because of punishment. There's no evidence that we've collected about crime over the last like 200 years that we've been collecting data that suggests that punishment stops crime from happening. It just doesn't. Intervention stops it. That's the only thing. And the intervention typically comes in giving people purpose, whatever it happens to be.
Well, since you brought up crime, did you ever watch? It's hard to say watch because they kind of just clipped it together with stock footage. The Ted Bundy tapes where he was recorded in prison on Netflix.
No, but I've watched the actual all the interviews from that TV series, Mindhunter. I've watched the actual interviews.
Okay, so what if this bot sucked all that up and it was inserted inside of one of these fucking robot bodies? Would it just go around murdering everybody?
Well, allegedly they have I don't know what personality type system they're using, but the programmers have disallowed the ability for any of these programs to take on the archetype personality of a murderer or a serial killer or a thief or anything like that.
But do you believe
allegedly.
it? Yeah, I was going to say, I don't believe it. I don't believe it.
No, I mean, you would have to convince the computer that there's some utility in doing any of that. Like AI will be utilitarian. That's the problem because there's not a lot of nuance in utilitarianism. Like this is a widget. The widget's used for this task. That's what I use it for, right? Well, that's kind of one of the things that we have to deprogram people from when they come into the military, and especially higher level units. Forget about what you know. These things can be used for everything. You can take your shoelaces out, wrap them around these fucking flex cuffs on your hand, right? Put them back through the eyelet on your shoe and just kick your feet out like this and saw that shit in half, right? That's something that is a really good example of something that the special operations community figured out and taught to everybody else. I don't know, an AI wouldn't think to do that. You know what I mean? Like it just thinks, this is a weapon, I'm using it for this. This is a cooking tool, I'm going to use it to cook. So getting it to think outside of that stuff and be actually creative, that's the problem.
Okay.
There's plenty of these AIs that have churned out like short stories and things like that.
They weren't very good.
No, and it doesn't mean anything. So imagine, well, let's think about A Modest Proposal, Jonathan Swift. He was an Irish writer during the Great Potato Famine. And he also wrote Gulliver's Travels. That's how most people know him. But he wrote...
I know him as a dancer.
Maybe, yeah. He wrote... A Modest Proposal is basically a short story that's satire. Excuse me. Where he told parents to have 2 kids and then each just to replace themselves to keep the population up. And then each kid after that just cannibalize them. That way you get good meat. It's problem solved, right? But it's really in the same way that the Screw Tape Letters by C.S. Lewis was. Screw Tape Letters is a book by C.S. Lewis who wrote The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, all the Chronicles of Narnia stuff. It's about an uncle named Screw Tape who's a demon in hell, and he's talking to his nephew on Earth to teach him how to trick human beings into going to hell, basically. But it's a treatise on the human condition. It's like, here are their strengths, here are their weaknesses, here's how you can play them against each other, and blah, blah, blah. That's the stuff that A Modest Proposal touches on as well. Like human fear, how stupid are we? We'll go to such great lengths to protect ourselves and blah, 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 right? These stories it's not just the story of an owl in the woods that's taking on a typical hero archetype of protecting other people. That's simple. That's like fucking first grade stuff. A graduate degree version of that would be a story that just seems like a story, but when you pay attention to it, it's telling you a different story. That's real creativity. And there's no AI capable of doing that. Not now. Could be at some point, but definitely not now.
We'll find out. There was a story that a bunch of you guys have sent in that we'll chat about now, and it's a strange one. It's involving pilots. There's There's a lot of pilots who are
butt pilots. Oh,
Yeah.
pirates.
That's pirates. Yeah, different.
What is a butt pilot though?
Butt pilot's someone who flies an airplane directly into your asshole.
Can we get a butt pilot shirt made?
Sure.
I think Brittany's actually meeting up with to get our keys for our new house right now.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, ask her about butt pilots and see what we can do for that.
Anyways,
Would that not be someone who pilots the butthole?
could be.
Yeah, who flies into it? Who
But what
flies
is
their
that?
dick into
No,
it?
but what does piloting the butthole mean? That's the part that you need to unpack from the butthole.
Yes.
Can somebody, you guys, we're going to move on to the story. In the chat, please let me know what piloting a butthole might mean to you.
Ah, boy, do we need that today?
Yeah, we need it.
We think you
Big
think so?
time. Yeah, but continue with your.
I think it's the person's butthole.
The pilot?
The pilot is the one that has it's their asshole. Yeah.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
What are you talking? What is that? Explain what you're saying.
No idea. I'll sit back on this one. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Let's
No,
hear
you'd
it.
say,
We got nowhere to fucking be now, for sure.
Oh,
The
absolutely.
pilot is the person the asshole's attached to.
No. You drive it like you're.
Yeah,
the
well, that's
one.
what he's saying, is that you drive your butthole around, so you're the pilot of your butthole. But that would mean you're the pilot of your feet and your brains and all that other shit.
Yeah, you're
That's
operating someone else's butthole. You're playing it like an instrument.
top bum.
Somebody in the chat said top bum. Who was it?
Red Falcon.
There you go, Red Falcon. You
Very
did it.
good.
You did it. Somebody sent in this story, and I said we would talk about it. It's about murder suicides.
Sweet.
By
with
pilots. Yeah. And it says that airlines, the deaths keep mounting on it. I don't know, and I'm imagining you guys keep sending it in because of Bebo Russell, our boy, R.I.P. Sky
Yeah,
King.
but he wasn't a pilot.
No, he wasn't. And I don't know the answer to this. And I started to look into it because I was reading some of the articles, and these are from MSN, so these aren't conspiracy shit. This isn't Sean's shit. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
This is real stuff, but it's talking about people who just snap pilot-wise who are flying a plane and then just smash it into the ground, and what causes that. I don't really know. I always pictured pilots as a cutesy type of job where it was just oh shit. It was important, and it used to be looked up to where it was just oh man, the pilot's here, we can start the party. Now no one gives a shit who the pilot is whatsoever. It's just kind of just shut the fuck up and don't go, right to your right. And don't give me the for 38 seconds.
But I got to be honest. That was a trope on movies and TV for a long time, and I know multiple pilots who do it only to make fun of it.
Oh, really?
Yes. Just because
sweet troll.
It's so fucking boring.
It is, yeah.
You take off, you put it on auto, you listen to the radio and shit, and sometimes you deal with whatever, but the vast majority of it, as it should be, because the tech is really good, is super boring, right?
Yeah.
You got to do something to fuck with people.
Right. So with that, since the tech is so good, what is causing these people to fucking fly these planes in the ground?
That's a good question. I mean, something we should definitely investigate. If it's happening to that particular group of people quite a bit, it's probably something about being at that altitude for that amount of time, or going up and down through the different levels of the atmosphere multiple times a day or something. Probably, right? It squishes your brain.
I thought about it a lot. Because
have they tested any of these guys for
I've gotten
traumatic brain injury?
Somebody sent me 12 of these things. You guys have sent me these 12 of these things. I think it's when you're up that high. Have you ever been in the cockpit up that high? You probably have, obviously, right? Mm-hmm. It's just so boring and monotonous, and it's just clouds and shit over and over and over again. And you can't really see anything cool, at least with a long drive. I used to hate driving through the state of Texas, when I would drive cross country or whatever it was, because it was just so boring, and you're just kind of looking at shit. The cooler states where you were oh, there's a swamp or something fucked up, at least that would keep me interested. Mm-hmm. Maybe with pilots, and this is my guess, you're just seeing the same fucking clouds over and over and over again, and the job becomes mindless at a point to where you hate it and you're fuck this, I'm just driving into the ground.
Maybe, or maybe it's Lapel du Vide, the call of the void. It's this psychological phenomena where you stand on the edge of a cliff or you're on a high balcony and something is telling you to jump.
Oh, I have that.
Yeah, it's a real thing. A lot of people.
I fucking have that, dude. Every time I'm like, man, what if I just fucking jumped right now? What if I just fucking jumped?
Yeah, it could
What
be
if
that.
I just did that? And obviously I don't do it, but maybe one day I will.
You should, yeah.
There was one point where like it became so crippling mentally on this bridge that I had to crawl on all fours across the bridge. The rest of the bridge. That's a weird story.
That
but
happens.
That's true.
Like I think a lot of people who walk on those rope ladder bridges or glass bottom bridges. I don't know that it's necessarily the fear of heights that makes them collapse to the ground. I think it's the call to void, honestly.
But then how do you get it to break or collapse? Like the rope, I understand. The rope swings?
No. I don't think it's... I think their fear isn't of the height. I think their fear is, why do I want to jump? Right? That's a very confusing thing.
It is.
For somebody to go through.
So no lie, I have this, and I don't know why. I only have two fears. It's needles and fucking heights. That's it. That's all. Like everything else, I really don't give a shit about. But every time you get off the side of one of those things, I'm like, oh man. And even talking about it, my hands are sweaty right now. Where I just want to fucking jump off the side for no reason. It's unexplainable. I don't know why.
Well, the really interesting thing about it is all our research on lapel David shows that it's not correlated with suicide or suicidal ideation or depression or any of that.
No, I have none of that.
So it's that if that is indeed the case, it's going to make it extremely difficult to identify it before the fact because there are no warning signs for it. It just happens to be. It's not
right.
It's not like your life is spiraling and there's evidence of that, or you have bags under your eyes because you haven't been sleeping, or you're saying erratic things or making erratic gestures or anything like that. You're just a normal person walking through life, and it doesn't. There's no symptom until you're in that position, right? That's the
yes.
It's basically the equivalent of a fucking aneurysm. You know what I mean? Like there's no predicting it. It's like an earthquake. It just happens. But I think a more common or a more Occam's razor friendly description would probably be exhaustion, elevation multiple times a day, going into different parts of the atmosphere, the brain expanding and contracting, and all the damage that incurs. That would probably be that's a lot more likely, but you know.
Or I think the other part of me thinks, besides like the monotony of the clouds and all that shit, of if you just look back and you're like, all right, I got a couple hundred people on board here today. I control their lives. They don't fucking value me. Everybody's fighting in the air, doing all this crazy shit. I'll just drive this motherfucker into the ground and teach them all a lesson, you know?
Bill Burr does a good bit on this. He's talking about driving down the highway, and he goes, sometimes I'm driving, and the difference between me just getting home to my wife and me being on the 10 o'clock news is like just a couple of degrees to the right.
Dude, it's my favorite bit that Bill Burr does, because I think about it all the time with cyclists. Whenever somebody's riding on a bicycle in front of me in my lane, I'm like, God damn it, man. Right now, I'll go dark into this. Like, there's been times where I'm like, dude, right now, there's no cameras out here. If I just fucking clip this guy, just fucking clipped him just for being a fucking dickhead on a bicycle with his full spandex shit on, the goddamn curved helmet, and the bullshit socks, and the clip-on shoes, and the fucking strap that goes over the Velcro strap, all of it. And he's not he's not in Tour de France. He's overweight. If I just fucking clip this guy, dude, I could murder him pretty easily, and I would probably be able to get away with it because the damage would be minimal on my pickup truck. And I know that's super fucking dark, but I think about that too, where I'm like, man, I'm in the middle of nowhere. The only thing that stops me is like, shit, I got a family and all that stuff, man. I'll never get that chance.
It doesn't occur to you that the cyclist might have a family as well?
No. It's because he's all dressed up in his bullshit, and it's like, why? Like, I can't go home to my family dressed like that. I couldn't look my kids in the eye. So let's say that I got hit. Here's how I'll switch it. Let's say that I got killed, and I got 3 kids and a wife and all that shit, right? And they were like, oh, man, how did you die? And I was like, well, Dad was super into cycling, and he was dressed up in spandex, and he had a USPS helmet on, Postal Service helmet, and the full outfit that he got off of eBay because he was a big fan of Lance Armstrong, or who was the Floyd, the steroid guy? He won right after Lance did. Royd Landis. That's what his nickname was, Royd Landis. And then I had the clip-on shoes and the whole thing. What's the explanation of the police to my family and my kids? Because my kid is old enough to understand. And be like, hey, so we found your husband and /father. he's dead. Oh my God, I'm devastated. How did he die? Well, he was in full spandex, and then he was on 1826 just riding, and he kind of pretended to be a car for a little bit and got into the main road, and then he got driven over. How does that story live with my kids for the rest of their being? Where if we were in a bar fight or 9/11 or something fucking crazy, or the plane went down, a plane crash, or, like Pete Davidson's dad, was a firefighter heroically in 9/11 or something like that. That's an easy story to explain the rest of your life. Being in a spandex head-to-toe outfit with a helmet on a bicycle that costs $3,000 isn't good enough for my kids.
So it's important to you that
I die in a cool way.
That your kids see some purpose in your death.
Correct.
What about if you die when you're 90? What purpose was there then?
Great question. And do you want to die when you're 90? Because I just had that fucking checkup the other day, and they were like, hey, man, that coma probably took some years off your life. And I was like, it's probably the years I don't really want anyways, right?
I'm having my consciousness downloaded.
And then you're going to be, just do this for me. Download it into the robot dog that shows up at Giorgio's house and fucks him in the ass repeatedly.
No. No. I'll probably...
Your robot won't be gay?
No. But I don't think robots necessarily would have any use for sexuality. They would reproduce asexually, which is to say, and worms and shit like that, and some other creatures, it's just mitosis, but they would just program another machine. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's no... I wouldn't think about that, I would imagine.
Okay.
But it'll be something fucking stupid for sure. Like a full-size foghorn leghorn or something.
Yeah.
Like metal foghorn leghorn, just a big rooster walking around with my brain inside it, or something stupid like that.
Because there was something you said a few weeks ago on the show where you said human beings need purpose in life to do things and operate and everything else. And I remember driving home after that show, and I was like, he's absolutely right. And the reason why we get up every day, I feel, at least for most human beings, is that we do have a purpose. You do want to accomplish something. You want that feeling of accomplishment and success in something, right?
Yeah.
And looking back at all the shit, because I did somebody else's show the other day, and they were talking about the movies and the books and the podcast and the seltzer and all that shit, and they were like, why so many different things and why all of it? And I was like, it's a purpose to get up every day, Like it's a purpose to have the top seltzer in the world. It's a purpose to have the top book in the world, the top podcast in the world. Like there's got to be something out there that you're up against every day to try to beat.
Sure.
Or what's the fucking point of getting up every day? Yeah. Like I wouldn't really have one, to be honest with you.
Well, that's the true tragedy of consciousness, right? So if you're a sentient but unconscious creature, like a dog, for example, your purpose is to prevent disaster and achieve gratification as much as possible. Gratification, naps,
food,
love from your family, food, water treats, toys, whatever. Disaster, obviously, is self-explanatory there. But when you add that layer of consciousness to it, where you're thinking about all of society, like how do I fit in this scenario? How do I compare to my peers that are trying to do the same? Like dogs don't think about that. There's an alpha in the pack, and from time to time they'll scrap a little bit to decide who's the alpha, if that guy's going to stay, if he's going to go away, and I'm going to become the whatever, right? But it's very rudimentary. For us, it's complicated. It permeates every single part of our lives, which is why any amount of time you spend comparing yourself to other people is a complete waste of time. But that isn't to say you should jettison the idea of competition. Competition is really important. You should just direct your competition in a way that makes sense for you and your family. You know what I mean? Like it is competing in the market. We want to have a better, more efficient, whatever brand than other people because it'll sell better. But what's the purpose? Like I don't get up in the morning thinking about, like I'm not going to be happy because Hardy sells 1 million cans. I'll be happy because the products of that, whether it's money or notoriety or the ability to do something more, right, helps my family, helps the people that I care about, helps to promote causes that I care about, shit like that, right? So it may seem like a banal distinction between different types of success, but if it is just success that you're after, then you will never be happy.
Right. It's the purpose, right? It's to get up every day with a purpose. Because being rich can't be the final thing, right? Because if it was, then once you achieve it and you sell it, then your life would be meaningless after that.
Yep.
So it's the purpose behind it.
It's why people like Anthony Bourdain and Kate Spade kill themselves, because they thought that accomplishing all this stuff would make them happy, and it didn't, and they couldn't figure out why. So the pain was too great, and they had to stop the pain, but the pain wasn't real. The pain only existed because of what they valued, and if you change what you value, then the things that cause pain and pleasure for you will also change.
Yeah, no, that's true. Wild show today. Fucking A, dude. It's fucking deep, dude. Sometimes I forget we're actually on air. This is like going out to fucking millions of people. Either way.
It's none of your business what we do here.
Today was just like popping in a conversation that was unaware we were totally live the whole way. Either way, now's the point of the show. We get to the Drinkin' Bro of the Week. I'm going to give this to Lucky Giraffe today, the company, the set building company, who built everything here. When we moved to Austin, Texas, for the first time since this is we're heading down to the last day of our times in this particular studio. We had hit up a few people, and some of the quotes were out of control. Some people were like, dude, I hate your fucking show.
Thank you.
And they were like, I won't build this because I physically can't tell anybody about it. A lot of people want to use this for like lookbooks and shit like that. And they were like, Drinkin' Bros, let me see what you're talking about. Oh, you fucking hate Biden. No, we're not doing that. But Lucky Giraffe built all this cool shit. They are also bringing it to the new studio and attaching it to all of that. And the other reason I bring them up today is if they fuck it up, at least you know who they are. And if I rage against them, then you know what I'm saying? Like this puts a little pressure on them, which I like. It gives them purpose.
That brings up another point. What we have, I don't think we've talked about this on the show, but the first person that showed up last February when your pipes burst, that you raged about on the show, is the same guy that showed up to Rob's house to fix his pipes when they burst last week.
No fucking way.
Same dude.
No, it wasn't when your pipe burst.
Was it plumbing? Was it the plumber?
It was the plumber from when you first moved in and you were getting water heaters replaced or some shit.
You raged against them, though.
Yes.
Yeah. And how did he do, Bob?
Great.
For
I was
now.
completely happy with the service.
How long? How long has it been?
Not going to be my fucking problem because I'm not going to live there long enough.
Yeah, he totally redeemed himself.
Yeah.
So what was his name? Do you remember? Like if he...
man, I don't off the top of my head. I still have his card.
Tony. Whatever Ross...
Shouts to Tony.
Tony.
You don't know
It's
his name is
probably
Tony.
Tony.
It's not fucking Tony.
Like 75% of plumbers are named Tony, so that seems likely.
Bob, I don't know that I would have said that now. You might have just taken a couple people off the market for your house now. You know?
I doubt the people that are
I've had the worst fucking plumbing in that goddamn house forever at that place. Holy
when was your
shit.
house built, your old house? You just moved, didn't you?
Yeah. I think 08s maybe.
Okay. I don't know about 08, but my house was built in 99, and I swear to God, there's like this window from the 70s to the 90s where they were just allowed to use fucking cardboard to build houses.
I don't know. Look. This is an 08. This is in a nice neighborhood. Not that yours isn't, by the way. This is in a nice neighborhood, but if I beach one more of my dumps, or I see one of my children's dumps beached in this toilet, the water is maybe an inch in these goddamn toilets.
Is it a low flow toilet?
No, it's not. It's not. And I asked homeboy. I was like, "Hey man, this is all fucked up."
You can change that by changing where the chain sits inside of the back.
Correct.
So you can do that yourself, and it takes like 3 seconds.
Right. So we've done that because my father-in-law is actually a plumber, and so he was the one that told me that. And so we were like, "All right, cool. So we'll try that and this and this and everything else." Called these fucking guys, and to this day, it's been 2.5 years of living in that place and just beaching every dump. Where you're just like, God damn it, man. It's every time I go in there, and it's I've got kids, so they just dump out whenever, and then you kind of walk in behind it, and you're like, what stinks? Because they never flush the toilet, and then it's just this beach dump laying there like Moby Dick on shore, and you're just like, fucking A, bro.
I see that as a challenge.
Yeah,
I mean,
also
if that dump is beached, then my urine are the dudes storming Omaha Beach on Normandy.
Yeah, it's
too much though.
Yeah.
These
Hitler's Atlantic Wall.
Because of this plumber, the water has never been able to handle it. Like It's terrible. Fuck that guy. To this day, I mean, it's still 2.5 years.
He was there for your heaters. That has nothing to do with the toilet.
Yeah, either way,
Are your kids taking dumps in hot water? That might be why it stinks.
So all of it is connected in our place, and then the hot water heaters are in the attic. The reason why that place flooded out is they're in the fucking attic, bro. Like, why? Why would you ever do that in a million years?
I don't know. He didn't build your house either.
Yeah, well, all of it, dude.
He just showed up and gave you a bill.
Fuck that guy.
Sherry Champagne says it's also called dry docking.
Oh, dry docking. I like that. I've never heard that term before.
Not bad, but beached is.
Beached is good.
Because it does look like a little turd whale.
I mean, dude, I think that's just something you have to live with, having two boys.
No, the water's too fucking low, and the whole house, the plumbing is fucked.
They'll adapt.
It's Bette Midler, dude. I call it a Midler because it's just beaches, dude. It's just fucking beaches there. It's a Barbara Hershey squirt, like all of it, just beach. It's just a fucking hashtag beach life in there. And I'm amped to be out of there. Got into the new place. There was plenty of water in the toilet. I was so goddamn happy. I was ready to baptize the newborn.
You should
just right in that toilet and be like, ah.
You should start taking pictures of the dumps and put it on ratemypoo.com.
Is that a thing? Is ratemypoo.com?
Is ratemypoo.com still?
Is that still alive?
Let's look that up.
If ratemypoo.com is still alive, that'd be great.
It doesn't look like it.
No. I've talked about this on the show before. There was a fraternity brother of mine who used to take pictures of all of his shits and then make the pledges look at it, and he named all of them.
Ratemypoo.com was basically hot or not for turds.
I love it. I think that should exist.
It was really funny.
There is a Rate My Poo Reddit.
Oh.
So
are we allowed to show any of this?
I wouldn't.
I wouldn't, because I don't.
No?
I don't personally.
I mean, I'm sure
I'm
we
looking
can.
at him scrolling by.
Is that a turd?
Oh my God! Did he pick that up?
For reference, yeah, he picked it up.
That's as big as his hand. Can we show that picture? Are we allowed to show that picture?
I don't know.
Yeah, but
we're so close to 100,000. Dan's got all of his crypto. Delco.
I'm not showing
Delco. Dan's got all of his crypto involved.
Pokemon, I guess.
No, I don't give a shit about that. Homeboy who picked up his dump out of the toilet. We've all been there. I've never done it, but a friend of mine did, where he just picked it up because he just wanted to know the weight of it. Have you ever picked up your own turd?
No, I weigh myself before and after every bowel movement.
So that is normal. That's normal.
I have a fucking ledger of all of the results.
A Heath ledger?
For a year. I have like probably 7 or 8 years worth of dumps.
What's the most poundage you've ever taken off a dump?
1.3 pounds, I think, was the most.
Mm-hmm. You're saying as if you've done this as well, Delco.
Look at him. Of course he's fucking done it.
I have Crohn's, so I've lost
that's right.
55 pounds in a month.
Yeah, but that's
Man,
most of that's water weight. I'm talking about dump weight.
This is the thing on this
55
fucking
pounds
thing.
of
See, there's
water.
another guy
Look
holding
at
it.
this, dude. That guy. So that one's too wet. How did he pick that up?
I don't know, but you can fucking freeze that thing and stab somebody with it.
Exactly. That's like a fucking knife, dude. I'd love to be able to show this. We should have done the show on Patreon. Fucking A, dude.
People are eating right now.
I don't care.
Fuck them. Why? You shouldn't eat and watch this show. That's
No,
stupid.
dude. That's your own fucking fault. You know what you got into. Oh, look at that one. That last one was like a dolphin. It had a full fin.
I had to click out of this shit.
Yeah, do they
Oh,
do
that
that?
grosses you out? Not the prolapsed horse anus?
Yeah, bring that back up.
Yeah, I'll
Nope.
get the prolapse.
So we can
Nah,
just
we're all
show
good.
over.
That should be the Reddit. It's like instead of looking at clouds and finding shapes, you're just looking at turds and finding shapes.
Yeah. I like that a lot.
Yeah.
We'll
like
do
it
a
too.
full episode on this and kind of rate these turds.
Yeah.
What's the name of the site?
Turd Raider. No, it's Reddit.
It was on Reddit. It's
was on
just
Reddit?
Rate My Poo on r/Rate My Poo.
But you can make an app, and it's TRDRTR, Turd Raider.
Yeah, the turd rater would
Yeah.
be sweet, dude. And you could rate people's turds or your significant other's turds.
Mm-hmm.
Where if somebody drops a deuce in the toilet, like that, on a one night stand. Has that happened to you guys?
That used to just be Snapchat.
Yeah.
Really?
Snapchat was just sending photos of your shits to dudes.
Yeah.
Has a girl ever left a deuce in your toilet like a one night stand?
No.
Now Giorgio's putting the headphones on.
I think the answer is going to be
I
yes.
think it is too. Well, what happened? Go ahead, put the camera on him. He's shaking his head. What happened?
She didn't get into med school, and she was getting drunk a lot, and then they just weren't
Bless
flushed. Like 5 or 6 times, I would come back there, and it's just sitting there. Oh. And then we broke up.
Okay. How big was it though? Was it that size? What we were looking at?
No, small.
All right, like Amber Heard size?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like, could be confused with a dog.
I had to take a poop break during when I lost my virginity.
Oh.
Oof. Oh God! Before or after?
During.
Like a break.
I didn't take a break.
No fucking
How,
way.
can you shit while you're hard, though?
No,
And
no, I've never been able to.
I
shit
feel like
hard.
that
No.
would be, even if
No.
you could, you probably shouldn't because it's going to confuse your brain. Like,
Exactly.
why is my dick hard while my butthole's open?
I was
Yeah.
not in remission, so it came out pretty easy.
Oof. And then you went back to having sex,
Yeah.
and you completed to completion.
Yeah.
Boy, dude, this has gotten dark.
Yeah.
It always does. It always fucking does. We've had one female guest on this show. We've done 1,300 episodes, dump out in front of us and had no shame about it. If you find us in the streets, we'll tell you. We're not going to say it live on air, but if you find us in the streets, we'll tell you. I've never seen a woman more confident walking out of a room with all dudes on it. And I was just like, oh, all right. Well, she just felt comfortable enough to fucking dump out. And it was a toilet in the middle of the place. But if you find us in person, we'll tell you. But we can't say it on the show because this person's alive and still doing things out in the world. If you're alive and doing things out in the world, go to iTunes, rate the show 5-star, and leave a quick review. That is all the advertisers care about. And also go to Spotify. Just click a 5-star and throw your phone out the window. They don't have the capability to write anything in there, so fuck them. Just leave a 5-star and then leave. That's it. That's all you have to do. Weird, fun show. I enjoyed it. Flip on over to Drinkin' Bros Sports here coming up. What time will the golf show drop, Delco?
6:30.
6:30 tonight. U.S. Open. All eyes on Phil Mickelson this weekend. We are betting on mybookie.com. Promo code Drinkin' Bros will double your deposits. We're going big. We always do for the majors. This is no exception. Join us tonight at 6:30. For D'Anthony Holloway, I'm Ross Patterson. This is the Drinkin' Bros podcast. Good